Okay, welcome to the 11th Pasadena Business and Economic Summit. We're super happy that so many people took the time off to be here today. I'd like to thank the City of Pasadena. We have the Chamber and the City have a really great, close and long-standing relationship. And our group has worked with Dave Klug and the Economic Development Department on today's program.
So much of the fire's recovery, as you all know, is economic and the business community. So appreciate getting to come here and present. LADC has been collaborating with the state of California in publishing quarterly briefings on the trajectory of the economic impact and economic recovery from the fires. So for the burn zones in particular, nearly 2,000 businesses were impacted that employed nearly 10,000 workers. And those businesses were realizing $1.4 billion a year. So it's a lot in summary. The secondary areas that would be of particular interest to this group is those businesses located in the secondary areas, of which Pasadena is included, employed over 37,000 individuals and realized nearly $7 billion of sales a year. And so that's kind of the economic activity that we would hope to see come back to for the adjacent areas. And so these are the three scenarios. Of course, scenario 1, most optimistic. Scenario 3 would take some more time. And the way we look at that is, are we having the particular dollar and employment coming back to what it was before the fires? One would also say you want to come back stronger because, and everyone in this room, you're hoping for economic growth, a growth in sales, a growth in jobs. So then after the fires that our county has been experiencing and recovering from, then we had a lot of trade trends with the tariffs, uncertainty, some volatility. I want to just show a little bit there to understand how does that impact our region. One angle is cost. Are the tariffs going to increase my costs as a business, as a consumer? Another angle is our industry of trade and logistics. So we in LA County are the leading trade and logistics industry nationwide. So there are jobs, there are small businesses, there's business activity that's impacted as an industry. And our industry has unmatched trade volume. We have 35% of all U.S. waterborne container activity comes through here, LA County. We have a unprecedented multimodal connectivity with our trucking, with our waterway, with our freight system. I'll get to job creation, economic impact, and competitive wages. We have also been teed up a significant amount of capital investment in our trade and logistics infrastructure. So modernizing the ports, modernizing the freight system. So if that industry is disrupted, that's not great for capital investments. Look at what are the immigration enforcement trends. Here we see the red line, 2025 comparison to 2024. I think we all know this. We live in LA County, but a dramatic increase in ICE arrests occurring in 2025, particularly over a dramatic spike in our 3-month period, so 1 quarter. Foot traffic plummeted, and so that's how we kind of measured the types of workers that are impacted. Next slide, and just want to end with a highlight that we have support at the state level in terms of promoting our industries for us to succeed at an industry level. And so the California Jobs First program, that is the state of California's economic development blueprint. They are taking an industry-based approach to job creation. And LA County, we were specifically awarded $24 million to promote our life sciences industry just a couple months ago. And so this is just one example of we are positioned to, it's a challenging time, but the resilience is based on the fact that we are strong in these industries and we're diversified in these industries. And that will be the key ingredients of how we move past some of these challenges and these kind of shocks and moments of uncertainty.
What we do essentially is try and bring in new businesses to the city, keep the ones that we have here, and help them grow and expand. what do we do? So these are some of the things that we do. I'm not going to read every one of them. Business attraction and retention. We do business incentive and government navigation. How in the world do I get a permit? Where do I go to get a permit? Who can help me? What does this form mean? So that's kind of what we do. So I'll touch on the fires a little bit. We all know the fires basically sucked. So anyhow, we did a little bit of our part in my team, and things came together. Pete and I spoke, and he said, I have a big space at Santa Anita. You could move them out here. So thank you so much. And also with our partners at Paseo, Colorado, we did something called Dina Heals and helped businesses get support, not only for businesses, but for families. And Paseo was generous in donating their space, didn't charge any rent. And those are small examples. And also my staff, along with some planners, 3 or 4 planners, I believe, became community connectors, where we help people navigate and get through the process. How do I get my debris removal and all that stuff that they had to go through. I did see the Langham folks in here too. They were awesome. They were renovating their rooms, 360 rooms. And they said, you know what, we have all this furniture. What can we do with it? I'm like, well, we could give it to the folks who need it, who lost everything in their homes. So working with Reach Out Worldwide, who was a disaster relief organization, we partnered with them and the owner of the Bed Bath & Beyond in East Pasadena. And we figured out after a few restless nights, I thought, how in the world am I going to get rid of all this furniture? But partnerships came together, and that furniture was at Bed Bath & Beyond and distributed. And along with our the city's human resources director, Tipping Jacobs-Quinn, who's over at the table, just helped coordinate all of that. And it was a huge effort. So thank you to everybody for helping out. So now we have the Shop Local Open Rewards. And this was actually Chris Page, his idea, which is great. And it essentially boils down to the more you buy, the more money you get on your app, and then you spend it at our retail and restaurants. It's a rewards program, and it's great. It helps our businesses. It helps our trade area to spend the money and keep it in Pasadena. Next, I'm not going to steal thunder from the next presentation, but as you all know, we have the Olympics coming in 2028. We have diving at the Aquatic Center. We have men's and women's soccer coming to the Rose Bowl. And this will be a boost for our businesses. And our job is how do we connect our businesses to the Olympics, and how can they share in the revenue that will be generated in the LA area. So Reconnecting Pasadena, the 710 project. How many of you have heard of this project? Okay, that's good. How many were at council last night till 11 o'clock? No, nobody. Brenda was, I was, and no one else was in the audience, which is a little disappointing, actually. I think we need to engage some more and show up at our council meetings, because that's where the decisions get made. And they can't decide unless they can decide, but I think more input would be great. So it's the largest project in the history of Pasadena. So let's show up. Anyhow, how big is it? We could almost lay 3 Empire State Buildings end to end. That's how big it is. That's how long it is. It's pretty wide. It's almost 500 feet wide. That's 14 Metro buses across. And it's 30 feet deep. It's 558 Olympic swimming pools deep. So it's a big, big project. It's about 50 acres. So as opportunities present themselves, if you can, please show up and voice your opinion. Okay, so what are some potential land uses? We're looking at, as you may guess, civic and cultural, commercial, mixed use. The yellow is an urban village, multifamily residential. And then the blue is the innovation R&D district. And right now, these are not hard lines, but these are just drafts. So other projects happening in the city. Some of you have probably noticed there's a lot of construction going on South Fair Oaks around Huntington Hospital. Well, one of the buildings is the USC Keck Medical Office Building, Huntington Hospital, the AC Hotel, Gateway Center, Panda Inn, Porsche dealership. We have Cadillac Pasadena. So the General Motors Design Studio, it's in Caltech and what they're doing. And thank you to the business community for your support, your investment in Pasadena. It means a lot. And all the partnerships in this room that we work with all the time. We can't do our job without successful partnerships. So thank you so much.
Now we're going to talk about how we can all come together in times of fun, because the Olympics are pretty cool. And at first when they were talking about it, when they were setting up these Olympics, the San Gabriel Valley, Pasadena, wasn't really going to play much of a role in. They weren't going to have the swimming event here or the equestrian event at Santa Anita, or do anything. But now we've got a pretty great role. So these guys are going to all talk to us about it. I'm going to start with Jens, because right now you talked a little bit about the Olympics, but go into some depth and tell us, what's going to happen here and how it's going to look in just a couple of years.
Yeah, so we're really excited about the Olympics. One of the things that we have going for us is that we're going to be hosting soccer, and something that we know how to do. We're able to have a lot of infrastructure that's needed here year-round that can be used for the games. So what you start to realize is that you have to think about your building in a different way. And for us, I think that's what we're sort of in the middle of. The announcement of the aquatic center getting diving is a wonderful announcement for the city. We're super excited for them. When you talk about these games, everybody's so excited and can't wait till they get here. And for us, we know they're going to be these iconic moments that are really what sets our building apart.
We have 997 days till opening ceremonies. And for us, it's going way too quickly. There's so much to do. I'm learning a lot about the event itself. As I mentioned before, with Split Rock Jumping Tour, we've got 3 show arenas in our infield. Our team is going to build that course, that cross-country course, in LA 28. Hopefully will pay us back. And so we'll go from 20,000 people a day for the show jumping and dressage in the infield to about 40,000 per day. We're going to come out not only for those disciplines, but also for cross country.
The reality of it is we're going to be on the world stage, and we're going to be super busy, right? Economic impact, we believe, will be tremendous. We think that, both domestically and internationally. But the reason is that the Rose Bowl Hattie soccer is tremendous, and we know it's going to be super successful. Jens and his team do an outstanding job with any of the world-class events that they host, right? But diving is new, and diving is going to be tremendous for us in that it's, be a couple of weeks. We believe the stadium will be, or the aquatic center will be set up for perhaps 5,000 people. And one of the big things with these events is hotel rooms, right? That's the number one thing we do is with our Visit Pasadena is our charge is to book hotel rooms. This LA 28 has contracted with the majority of the city's hotels, and they have booked, if you will, or contracted up to 80% of the room nights. So the room nights are pretty well, at this point, taken, but that doesn't mean that they'll all hold. One thing I think Dave touched on is jobs. Obviously, when we're this busy at that time of the year, I suspect these folks will have a lot of extra hands on deck that will lead to new jobs, new availability for folks. Probably the last thing that I think is important and it gets missed is the whole legacy value. And how does that work? If it work that, people will see us from around the world and hopefully they'll want to come here to visit, right? Perhaps with, the renovations that each of them will do, like Pete's going to have a whole new course to be able to host events throughout the year. But if you take a look at the aquatic center, we're going to have a legacy facility that will be here for a long, long time for the community.
The only thing I'd add is, one of the questions I get a lot is, how can I get involved? How do I want to be around the games, whether that's buy tickets to them, volunteer. So first and foremost, LA 28 is really, what's neat about the games is you could think it's the IOC coming in and taking over Los Angeles, but it's become very clear these are Casey's games. So Casey Wasserman put in the bid, and the games really belong to Los Angeles. So they're doing a lot of things that are unique to them. You saw an announcement a few weeks ago where they're allowing local sponsors to stay up if they pay into LA 28 in the games. It's a first time thing because that's what LA wants to do with the games. So I would challenge you to go to the LA 28 website and sign up if you're interested in volunteer opportunities. That's where they want us to send folks because they're sort of trying to get a mass group of volunteers. So be careful what you ask for. If you want to volunteer at the Rose Bowl, you might be at Riviera for golf and then somewhere else doing, I don't know, deadlifting. But if you're interested, I think that's a really good spot. And then tickets is the other one we get a lot of questions to. How do local folks get access to local events that are taking place here? And we're still sort of vetting through that process right now. They're starting really big and they're going down to smaller. And then over the coming months, years, they're going to start going into more general seed. So seed and bowl, that type of thing. But happy to help facilitate that. I think what we're finding and what LA 28 is finding is it sounds great to have all the inventory and we control it. But if you're trying to sell inventory at buildings around LA, you should probably have the people that work at those buildings in LA help you sell that inventory because they know the clients, they know the people, they have relationships, and they're going to be here afterwards. So they're going to deliver on that experience. So
I think there's, like how do you tie it all together and how do you make it work? Is I think there's going to be an awful lot of preparation prior to, obviously, because we continue to meet. But, I think part of it is hospitality training, and that's one thing that our team is going to, really try to push. And when I say that is working with our hotels, working with all of our partners at our museums and our restaurateurs, and working with economic development, let people know, what we're about to see in terms of how busy we're going to be and how we could integrate and work with, like we have a whole host of different languages, right? So there's got to be a tremendous amount of signage. There's got to be volunteers. There's got to be people, at each of the goal line, stations to direct people. The hospitality training could include anything like, obviously all of our local partners, our small businesses. We want to ensure that we're great hosts, which we always are, here in Pasadena, be ambassadors for the city and let people know how to get around it.
In terms of legacy, we're going to end up with a world-class equestrian facility when times is over. But what excites me is what's going to happen on the broadcast side with NBC. There are countless times when I walk to the Rose Parade in my life and I'm overhearing the people who were in Pasadena for the very first time, the parade, and they just can't believe how gorgeous, what a wonderful city this is. And when NBC shows the shots from the Rose Bowl or from Santa Anita, those gorgeous shots of the sun going down and purple mountains, that kind of thing, I'm excited about the stories they're going to tell about the LA area, about Pasadena in general, Santa Anita. One of our executive VPs, it produces all the Triple Crown races. And if you're following the Triple Crown races, Kentucky Derby, Preakness, or Belmont, they're always talking about stories. Everything's about stories, right? And the stories about the jockeys, the horses, the trainers, the owners. Amy will be involved with that again, with the Olympics. And again, there's this connection between people and horses, which I think we'll be able to exploit, but to promote, which would be real good for us.
All right. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate it. Yes.